Sampling and quantization is the topic of this lecture. This is a topic which finds its usefulness in a different disciplines and different subjects, different courses, mainly signal processing, signal and system, sensors, and communication system. Signal processing and communication system utilize the concept of sampling and quantization much. When we deal with discrete signal or digital signal, when we convert analog signal into digital signal, or when we discuss about digital communication system, digital modulation method, pulse modulation method, sampling and quantization plays an important role. So this lecture will present an overview of what sampling is, what quantization is, and how do sampling and quantization help in converting signal from analog into digital, or how do these two phenomena assist in obtaining different modulated signals, especially pulse modulated signals. So let's begin with sampling. As I told you, sampling is a common phenomenon, a common process used in signal processing. Sampling is a process which converts analog signal into discrete signal. Signal which is continuous can be converted into non-continuous signal by the process called as sampling. If you look at this waveform, the green color envelope, the envelope highlighted in green color is actually the xt, that original signal in time domain. And if you observe this green colored signal, you will find that there is a continuity of the signal. So signal is continuous. So whatever signal is continuous is analog, or all analog signals are continuous signals. And to add something more, all natural signals are analog signals. All natural signals are analog signals. The main characteristic of analog signal is its continuity. It's always continuous. But as I told you, in digital communication system, in digital signal processing, we need discrete signals and digital signals. So as its name suggests, discrete, which is non-continuous. If you can look at, the same signal can be expressed as a series of, you can see, impulses. Look at here, these red colored impulses. And these pulses are following the continuous signal. But the only difference is these pulses are distributed on non-continuous manner. So signal becomes non-continuous. This is what is called as discrete signal. How does it become discrete from analog? This is sampling that converts this analog signal, green colored signal, into the form of series or train of pulses or impulses. These impulses may be pulses also. If this duration of the impulse, which is also a pulse of very, very negligible duration, but if that duration is something considerable, a small but considerable pulse width, so we'll call it as pulse. So sampling converts your signal into discrete signal, which is actually some combination of some series or some train of impulses or pulses. There, continuity is not there. No continuity. Signal becomes non-continuous. So from analog to discrete conversion is done by the process called as sampling, and the pulses occur at particular interval of time. If you see these pulses, red colored pulses, they are occurring at different time intervals. There is periodicity. After each certain periodic interval, they are repeating, means the pulses are occurring, but pulses are not occurring continuously. Coming pulses are occurring regularly, but not occurring continuously. It's not continuous. So this is what is done by the process called as sampling. See, how can we do it? Because what is original signal? This green colored signal is original signal, our analog signal. And we want to convert this analog signal into the form of discrete. So we need some sampling operator. We need some sampling signal. So when we talk about sampling signal, means it will be a train of impulses, a train of pulses having certain frequency, certain time interval. Please remember, when we do sampling, there is a sampling theorem which needs to be observed, which needs to be satisfied. And what is sampling theorem? It says that, rather it states that a band limited signal means any signal which you want to sample can be sampled appropriately when the sampler means sampling signal. The sampling frequency must be greater than or equal to Nyquist rate. What is Nyquist rate? We'll discuss in next lecture. Nyquist rate is the rate which is a double frequency of message signal. What is Nyquist rate? Twice of modulating signal rate. Rate means frequency. Twice of modulating signal. If the modulating frequency is FM, if I can use pen here, right? Suppose the modulating signal is FM here. Let us write it as FM. So twice of FM, right? This is your Fs. This is your Nyquist rate. Nyquist rate, which was introduced and suggested by the Nyquist, it suggests that the sampling frequency must be greater than or equal to twice of FM, where FM is the maximum message signal frequency which we want to sample, which we want to convert into discrete signal. So what is Nyquist rate? 2 FM. Twice of message signal rate, twice of message signal frequency is called as Nyquist rate. So generally, the sampling theorem says that equal to twice of modulating signal rate, it's okay, it's not a problem. But what is always better is it must be greater than twice of modulating signal frequency. There are 3 types of sampling. If you can see here, natural sampling, flat top sampling, and ideal sampling. If you see the last 2, natural sampling, see here, this is flat top sampling. While discussing about pulse amplitude modulated, we have seen these 2 waveforms there also. Natural PAM output and flat top PAM output, because the PAM output is nothing but sampled output. What is this natural sampling? We are getting the pulses. The continuous signal is converted into the form of pulses, but you can see the pulse amplitude. the pulse amplitudes are following. The pulse amplitudes are following strictly the envelope of message signal, that is analog signal. Is it clear? It's following envelope. Whereas in flat top, you see that amplitude of pulses, there are pulses because the aim is to convert the analog signal into discrete. So we are getting pulses at different intervals, at regular intervals. But look at the amplitudes. At top of each pulse, the top is flat in nature. So flat top output is called as flat top output because the tops of the pulses are all flat. So we use a sample and hold circuit in order to get this flat top. So there are two types of sampling. One is natural sampling and second is flat top sampling. The third one, which is considered as ideal sampling. In the ideal sampling, actually, what happens? The sampling signal, the sampling operator, you look at here. Here the sampling operator is a series of pulses, whereas in the ideal sampling, the sampling function or the operator is series of impulses. So if we can draw, suppose we are interested to draw the sampling signal, right? If I can write ST and say this ST is sampling signal. So what is sampling signal? This is sampling signal, right? This is sampling signal. So this sampling signal, where the sampling signal is train of impulses, and the train of impulses is subjected to the analog signal which has to be sampled. So this is ideal sampling, where the output is again discrete signal, but the samples, the pulses are not actually pulses, they are impulses. And the concept is same. This is sampling interval. Here also from here to here sampling interval. Every after TS, the next pulse or next impulse will start. So there are three types of sampling. One is ideal. It's ideally possible that when there is a pulse, it will have certain width. But when we say there is a pulse, width is negligible. It's tending to zero. It's difficult. So it's ideal. So there are therefore two types of main practical, practically realized outputs or sampling. They are natural sampling and flat top sampling. Let's see natural sampling. You can see this is, let me again choose a pointer. I'm sorry. Okay, where is the pointer? Yes, see here. This is the analog signal XT which we want to sample. All right, we want to sample this signal. And what is the next one? Next one is the sampling operator, sampling signal. If you see TS is the sampling interval, that duration between the two pulses. When it starts from here and the next pulse is starting, the duration is TS, sampling interval. And what will be sampling frequency? The rate of, how many pulses per unit time, per second. So we will calculate sampling frequency as the reciprocal of sampling interval, sampling time. That is Fs is equal to 1 upon Ts or Ts is equal to 1 upon Fs. So this is sampling signal. First one is the analog signal or message signal, which we want to convert into discrete. Now what is the output? You will see here. Output is nothing but, this is the same signal, it's a sampling signal only, but the amplitude is controlled by the instantaneous value of modulating signal. If you see here, the amplitude of modulating signal is increasing, so the pulse amplitudes are increasing. Here the amplitude is decreasing, the pulse amplitudes are decreasing. If you look at here, it has reached up to some minimum value here, so pulse amplitude also has reached its some minimum value. But what is important? What is important in this output? Something which is important is, you see the top of all the pulses. The top of the pulses is not flat. Rather, all the pulses, especially the top, they are following nothing but they are following the envelope. They are following the instantaneous value of modulating signal or message signal or analog signal naturally. And therefore, we call it as natural sampling. So it's a practical method of sampling where a pulse, every pulse has a finite duration, and the sampled signal is obtained by, we can directly multiply this sampling signal and the analog signal and we can get it. Because wherever the pulses are there we'll get the output corresponding to analog signal. In other places, we will not get. In fact, when we discuss about signal processing and signal in system, we know that this is a time domain signal, this is also a time domain signal. So two time domain signals are never directly multiplied. So what we can say that we can convolve, we can apply convolution between the two signals. We can convolve in time domain as well as in frequency domain, but this is the output in time domain. So we can convolve the analog signal with the sampling function or the sampling operator. We will get this output, which is the output of natural sampling. Why it is natural? Because the output amplitudes or the pulse amplitudes are following the amplitude of instantaneous value of analog signal which we want to sample. If you look at flat top sampling, see here, this is the sampling function, sampling operator. Again, the sampling period is Ts, sampling frequency is 1 upon Ts, and this is the analog signal which we want to convert. Now, if you can see, the same message signal is varying. The amplitude, instantaneous value is increasing, then decreasing. Look at here, the pulse amplitudes are increasing and decreasing. And this is why I think you know that why the sampled output, if you see here, why the sampled output, I'm just putting dots in order to highlight that this is actually the level, you know, these small red dots are actually the, right, if I can use a different color, say if I use this color, you see here, this is what is the, like this is your instantaneous value modulating signal. But what is important? What is important is something very important is, if you see the top of each pulse, the top of each pulse is flat. It's not varying according to instantaneous value. Of course, amplitudes in a broad sense are directly proportional to amplitude of modulating signal, but especially at the top, the outputs are flat. It's because of, in this method we use sample and hold circuit, right? So the top of sample remains constant and is equal to instantaneous value of message signal and starts the sampling process. If you look at here, if it attains some value of instantaneous value of modulating signal, then it holds that amplitude for some time, because in sample and hold circuit we use a capacitor, and we know that capacitor has a property that voltage in the capacitor does not change instantaneously, and therefore you see that for a finite duration, you know, the amplitude of the pulse remains constant, and therefore the output becomes flat. This may be a possible, you know, sample and hold circuit, as well as how can we get the output in the form of natural output or PAM output. See here, this is analog input, right? We are passing this analog input through, there are two op-amps, operational amplifiers, right? But what is important, that after passing through this suitable filter, right, this is acting as a filtering or signal processing circuit. Then we are applying sampling pulses here. The sampling pulses are passed through a circuit where there is an important element called as capacitor. And as I told you, the capacitor has a property that, see, when it receives certain amplitude, so when there is some positive voltage, capacitor will charge. But we know that when it will charge up to certain voltage, right? When it will charge up to certain voltage, if you see here, right, this pulse amplitude will increase. So whenever there is a positive amplitude, this amplitude will increase according to the instantaneous value. Now, after increasing at that particular value corresponding to instantaneous value of message signal, then since we know that capacitor has charged, but suddenly it cannot discharge. It will hold the value till, you know, next few seconds or microsecond or whatever, to some more duration, till some more duration, this voltage will be retained in the capacitor, and therefore the tops look like flat. So what is important is in the flat top sampling output, we use sample and hold circuit, and this is why we get the output like this. Natural sampling, as I told you, in natural sampling, your sampler is the train of impulses. The sampler is train of impulses, and this is analog signal. The output is just following the instantaneous value of a message signal or the analog signal. But what is important here is the output has impulses, because the carrier signal, or in terms of modulation or communication system, we call it as carrier signal. Otherwise, it's a sampling signal in signal processing in a broad sense. So this the sampling signal, which is a train of impulses, is because of train of impulses present there, the output also will have impulses, and the amplitude of impulses will vary according to the instantaneous value of analog signal present. So the train of impulses is used as a carrier, and sampling function is used, and we also can directly multiply these two signals, or we can convolve, and we'll get the output as ideal sampling. I was talking about Nyquist rate, which is very important to discuss. Nyquist rate. See, the Nyquist rate is a very important whenever sampling theorem or sampling process is applied. What is Nyquist rate? Is the rate at which sampling is done so that overlapping does not take place. There are pulses, there are two consequent pulses, there are the pulses are there, continuous pulses are there, there are two adjacent pulses. Their overlapping between the two consecutive pulses or two adjacent pulses is not allowed. If there is overlapping, it will cause distortion in the signal, in the final output signal. So therefore, Nyquist rate is a very important, is a very, very important theorem, or very, very important rate that has to be checked in sampling. So sampling theorem says that the sampling frequency must be greater than or equal to twice of maximum modulating frequency or maximum frequency of analog signal. So what is Nyquist rate? It's a minimum sampling rate, because sampling rate must be greater than that. It's okay that minimum value is this, but still there is a risk. Because when we discuss about Nyquist and the overlapping issues in the sampling in detail, we'll understand there are two consecutive pulses. When Fs is exactly equal to twice Fm, the two pulses are exactly connected. They're precisely connected. But if there is any variation in the frequency, there might be overlapping between the two components. So therefore, it's always better to have on safer side greater than twice of sampling, twice of maximum frequency of analog signal. Else, twice of maximum frequency is also okay, and therefore that is called as minimum sampling rate. What is Nyquist rate? Nyquist rate is termed as minimum sampling rate. If sampling rate is not as per Nyquist, if sampling rate is not greater than Nyquist, there becomes a problem called as aliasing. What is aliasing? I have explained you. There may be overlapping between the two neighbors. There may be overlapping between two consecutive waveforms, two consecutive pulses. That is overlapping. Overlapping between the frequency components takes place at the frequency higher than the Nyquist rate. Signal loss occurs due to aliasing effect. Aliasing effect will cause degradation, distortion, therefore signal loss will be there. So how can we avoid it? One, the sampling frequency must be greater than Nyquist rate, number one. Number two, pre-aliasing filter. Sometimes pre-aliasing filter can be used in order to protect against aliasing, but still there remains a possibility that aliasing may happen when the sampling frequency is less than the Nyquist rate. So what is the ultimate way of reducing, rather eliminating aliasing effect in sampling is to maintain sampling frequency, is to maintain sampling rate that is greater than Nyquist rate. And this is how we can avoid aliasing effect. There comes now quantization. So let's discuss about quantization. So quantization is the process of approximating the signal. See, the ultimate aim is to convert analog signal into discrete, then discrete into digital. So quantization plays an important role. When we get the sampled output, the samples or the pulses which are present, they have some amplitude, but those pulses need to be approximated, and some approximation is done by the process called as quantization. It involves the rounding off. As I told you, we do some approximation, means this analog signal, where it is converted into the in the form of pulses, some rounding off. Say we have seen that in the flat top sampling, there is the amplitude is going beyond the original amplitude. In the natural, some part is clipped off. So in order to solve these difficulties, what we do, that some rounding off is done. Why rounding off is needed? So that it can be encoded, otherwise you cannot encode properly, and therefore rounding off takes place, and we make the approximated signal output by the process called as quantization. So it chooses a few points on the analog signal, then those points are joined and rounded off, and we get the approximated signal. If you see here carefully, you will understand how does quantization work. This blue color signal, if you see the blue color signal, this blue colored signal is the analog signal. What do you see here? That we can get one staircase. So sometimes we also define quantization as, quantization is a process that converts analog signal into a staircase signal. You see, it looks like a staircase, right? So it's a staircase signal. And what we can see, that at every instant of time, we are getting some steps, we are getting some pulses, and that too, some rounding off, is happening, and we are getting some steps at every time at certain period of at certain intervals. So this is done by discretizing the signal with a number of quantization levels. How many these pulses will be there, how many steps will be there, that depends on what size of quantization we take. That is called as quantization levels. What do we do? The entire range, this entire range will be, divided into some suitable number of steps, and that each step will be called as quantization level. This is representing the sampled values of the amplitude by finite set of levels, which means converting a continuous amplitude sample into discrete time signal. The blue line represents the analog signal, whereas the brown, rather it's red color, represents the, it's not looking brown, it's red color, looking like this should rather be written as, no, let me choose the color. So this must be your red color in this particular case. Okay. So this is red color, right? And that is your quantized output. So what you can see, that there are some codes 1001, 1000, 0000, right? So these are the different codes. So when we want to find the code of this particular step, this equivalent code is 0101, which is done by encoding. So we are not discussing encoding part. When we will discuss about PCM, that time we will discuss about encoding. So when we talk about PCM or analog to digital conversion, it involves all the three stages: sampling, quantization, and then encoding. So we are talking about quantization. When we want to encode these different values at different time intervals of the analog signal, we need a staircase signal, and then that staircase signal can be easily encoded, right? This can be easily encoded. So what actually is done, that entire, suppose this analog signal is swinging from say -4 to +4 volt. So what is the total swing? 8 volt. So 8 volt will be divided by either 8, 16, 32, depending on how many quantization levels are there. Say here, how many bits are there in the encoding? 4 bits, which means there will be 16 quantization levels. So if you represent more number of quantization levels, better approximation will be there, remember. And the step size, each step size will be small. So step size will be small, better approximation, but the number of bits for each code, the number of bits for each code, that is each value, each pulse will be large. So the bandwidth, in terms of bandwidth, we call, see, each pulse, each value is requiring more number of bits. So data rate, that is bandwidth, you know, especially in digital communication, we call it as bandwidth. Bandwidth required will be more. Okay, so this is how quantization works. We divide the entire span swing by certain value. That value is called as quantization levels, and quantization levels are related by the number of bits which are required to be encoded. Right? See here 4 bits are there everywhere in the encoding. So minimum number of quantization levels here will be 16. And more is the quantization levels, lesser will be the step size, better will be the better will be the approximation, and lesser will be the quantization error. So both sampling and quantization result in some loss of information. Performance, see, you have seen in the sampling, either flat top sampling or natural sampling, there is some loss of information. In quantization also, we are approximating the signal. It means if you see, we are quantizing, so we are approximating. So there is a loss of information, and that's also possible that some extra information may also be added, and that may be wanted or unwanted. Whatever is extra added from outside is something which is unwanted. So unwanted is also likely to be added, number one. Number two, some information is lost also. So the performance of quantization therefore depends on number of quantization levels. More is the number of quantization levels, lesser is the spacing, that is this space. So lesser is the step size, lesser is the spacing, right? And better will be the quantization, and better will be the approximated signal. There are two types of quantization mainly. One is linear, second is non-linear, or we can say one is uniform. Rather than saying linear, non-linear, one is uniform, second is non-uniform. If you see here your staircase output is varying uniformly. You see here, uniformly. But here, if you look at, it's varying in uniform. I mean, therefore, I was making a term linear and non-linear. If you plot here, you know, approximated signal, the actual signal which is linear, here it is non-linear. So this is non-uniform and this is uniform. So when levels are unequal, maybe what is another important thing, see here, when step levels, that is step size, all step sizes are equal, then it is uniform. And if you see here, step size is also changing. So when the step size is changing, it's non-uniform. Quantization error, what is quantization error? I was discussing about quantization error, that difference between input value and the quantized output. You see here that this blue color line is the actual signal, and you can see the red color, you know, it's not very dark, light red color, which is approximated quantized output, right? This is your, you know, that what I can say, the approximate output. So there is a difference, and this difference causes the error called as quantization error. The quantization error, if you take the difference between the actual and what we are obtaining, this looks like this, which is called as quantization error. The quantization noise, so that error, which is the difference between the actual signal and the approximated signal, causes the noise, and that noise can be seen as this particular pattern. So any type of quantization error which usually occurs in analog audio signal after or while quantizing it, such errors create a wideband noise. So the noise occurs. Now how to deal with that noise, how to handle the noise? There is a process, there is a method called as compounding. How to handle the quantization noise? There is a method called as compounding, which is made up of two words, compressing and expanding. So when you combine compressing and expanding, it becomes compounding. So as you know that in communication generally, whatever processes like pre-emphasis, de-emphasis, modulation, demodulation, whatever process takes place in transmitting end, almost reverse process needs to be or is applied receiving end. So in the similar manner, here also, the compressing is done at transmitter. So its inverse operation, reverse operation, expansion of signal has to be done at receiving end. So both are combined together and called as compounding. And that deals with the challenges, the quantization noise or the quantization error. A nonlinear technique used in PCM that compresses the data at the transmitter and expands the same data in the receiver. Because we compress in order to reduce the noise, but unnecessarily we have compressed the signal. What was the purpose? To reduce the noise. But once while we are receiving the signal, that compression has to be normalized. And normalizing it, what do we need to do? Expansion. So signal has to be expanded. The effects of noise, especially noise, crosstalk, crosstalk possibility that may be due to poor sampling also, aliasing effect also. So crosstalk and the noise problem due to quantization error noise or quantization noise may be reduced by the compounding. There are two important laws for compounding. They are popularly known as A law and mu law. The laws are very simple. There is important term in the mathematical expression A and mu. Therefore, they are called as A law and mu law. Like in A law, it's a uniform quantization method, and that uniform quantization is achieved at A equal to 1. At other places, it's not uniform. And characteristic curve is linear. It is used in PCM telephone system. Mu law, uniform quantization is obtained at mu equal to 0 and especially used for music and speech signal. That mu law is used especially for transmission of speech and music signal, especially in North America and Japan. That mu law of compounding technique. This is the overall characteristic of compounding. I think this is a very interesting diagram which simplifies. If you look at, there are two curves which are combined. If you see the red color curve, this is written as compressing, and the blue color one is indicated as expansion. Why? This red color is compression. Why it's compression? Can you see here? This is input output characteristic. So when you observe red colored curve carefully, you will find that when you compare output with respect to input, you will find that for any value of output, the output is being made lesser. The slope, rather we can just say slope is the relation between output and input. The slope is lesser than 1 means output is less than input. Therefore, signal is compressed. Signal is getting compressed. So why we are doing it? Because the output in comparison with input, we are compressing. Because extra amount of noise that has been added, we are trying to suppress that. We are trying to reduce that. And therefore, the slope is less than 1. As I told you, since we do it at the transmitter, in order to overcome the problem of noise and crosstalk is a term used in telephonic communication system. So it has, I'm sorry, it has to be normalized. And how can be normalized? It can be normalized by using this characteristic. So we can use any mathematical, transfer function, which when we plot input output, the characteristic is like this. Any type of mathematical operator or transfer function can be used whose characteristics are drawn between an input and output, and that looks like this. Any mathematical transfer function can be used for compounding purpose. All right, so compounding is used at the transmitter, receiving is used at the compounding is used at the transmitter, and receiving is used at the receiver in order to normalize it. This is what I was talking about, A law and mu law. If you see here in the A law, if you find that this is again, normalized output and this is normalized input. So this is also input output relationship. So if you can find A equal to 1, linear. So the quantization is uniform. If you see the mu law, mu equal to 0, it's linear. The quantization is uniform. For mu equal to 2, mu equal to 10, mu equal to 255, it's becoming more non-uniform. Can you see here? It's a compounding law. So the slope is getting reduced, but mu equal to 0 means there is no compounding. Also, we can say no compounding. There is no change in the output. For input, same output, right? Similarly, in the A law, when A is equal to 1, uniform compounding means output and input are equal. But when we really want to suppress, we have to choose certain value of A, either 2, 10, 87.6, whatever amount by which we need to suppress the signal. We need to suppress the signal in order to reduce the noise. Accordingly, we have to choose the value of A and mu in the A law and mu law. So let's summarize this lecture. This lecture is about sampling and quantization. As I told you in the beginning, sampling and quantization is an important, sometimes it is used in combination. So therefore I'm saying it's an important process, or they are important processes in signal processing and communication system, especially when we deal with signals. When we try to get pulse modulated signal, when we try to convert analog signal into digital, the sampling and quantization play important role. Sampling is a process that converts signal, that analog or continuous signal, into the form of, or into discrete signal, which is either in the form of pulses, practically, or maybe in the form of impulses, ideally. And when we ultimately aim at converting those pulses into some digital output, some digital form of signal, we have to first of all apply to quantization in order to approximate those pulses by rounding off the amplitude. So we apply the quantization and then we can approximate. The next stage is encoding, and that encoding is applied to the quantized output, and we can convert analog signal into digital. But we have to also not forget that while quantizing and sampling, some amount of noise is introduced, especially in quantization. Quantization error or quantization noise is introduced that can be handled by using a method or technique called as non-uniform quantization technique called as compounding. As far as quantization is concerned, we have seen that more is the quantization levels, lesser or smaller will be the step size, but and better will be the quantization, means more approximation will be there, but there is a compromise, because when we do so, more number of bits will be required to encode each pulse. So the bandwidth requirement for better quantization or lesser step size will be there. So that is always there in communication system. If we want better output, means lesser error, something has to be sacrificed. So in order to get less error, very minimum error, bandwidth requirement will be more. So that's all for this lecture. Thank you.